Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where as promised, I have found us an encounter for coming back to Kerbin. So let me just hop over to Kerbin quickly here. And as you can see, this is the encounter that we've got. It's definitely a bit on the polar side, but it comes down to 40 kilometers. I opted not to go too much lower than that because I'm concerned about speed. We're going to have enough DV to hopefully actually enter orbit, but we're probably going to have to do multiple aero braking passes, I think. So for right now, we are about 4 days away from this maneuver, so let's just get oriented for it. And we will just get up over this way, like so. Excellent. And now we will just warp to the maneuver. This is a 1 minute, 15 second burn. And I have been checking as we warped around. I had to do 3 orbits to get this. And that's just because I didn't wait for a launch window. But I was checking for contracts throughout. Nothing really came up, unfortunately. So, instead, we're just going to bring these guys right on home and get a ludicrous amount of science from it. So this is going to be a 37.5 second burn. So that's, of course, when we want to burn this, T-minus 37.5 seconds. Not how long it's going to burn. Okay, 37.5. Here we go. We want to get this pretty precise, if we can. Like, I don't care about inclination. All I care about is this final periapsis of the encounter. And then any remaining DV we are going to utilize in a braking burn around the periapsis. Probably not at the periapsis, but slightly before it. Since the periapsis is at 40 kilometers. Okay, so far this burn is looking okay. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold the phone. I didn't realize. We can save some extra DV. Okay. We'll need to burn, like, radial. Okay, and now we burn, I think, back to retrograde? Nope, prograde. Okay, a little bit more burn. That was too much burn. That's too little. This is such minute changes. Okay. Little bit closer. That's as good as we're gonna get. Okay, so that saved us about an extra 150 DV. I didn't realize this encounter existed. Probably because the DV amounts were so minor. So, I want to do something like this. I don't care about this periapsis. Technically speaking, this is the only one I care about. We've got 564 DV here to work with. And I think aiming for 35 kilometers is probably fine, ultimately. Like, this is I mean, maybe 40. But no, I think 35. This is just getting past what we've got. So something kind of like this, I guess. Yeah. Basically, right here is what we can do. That's fine. That'll get us home. Okay, let's orient for that maneuver. This is a radial retrograde burn. And we want to be here. There we go. And we will warp to that maneuver. Here we come. We are coming home. It's going to take some time, of course, for us to get to the encounter. The encounter is all the way over here. But we've got 564 meters per second left to slow down with. And hopefully we'll only do one aerobrake pass. Certainly no more than 2, right? I hope. Because this could get kind of tedious if it's more than 2 aerobrake passes. But at 36 kilometers up, almost 37, that'll be a lot of atmosphere to slow us down. We're definitely going to have to use the heat shield. There's no doubt about that. So we just burn at the node for the entire burn time. And hopefully after this flight, Jebediah levels up high enough to actually, you know, do stuff. That would be nice. Because I'm getting tired of him not being able to lock to the node. Oh, contract expired to plant a flag on the moon. Okay. I guess that's fine. Slightly sad, but fine. Okay. Whoa. Whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. It warped us straight into the atmosphere. Well, I guess this is what we're bringing back. This is the important thing to bring back, I suppose. Why did it warp us straight into the atmosphere? Oh, I suppose it would have, wouldn't it? I'm an idiot. Is the answer. I am a complete and total idiot. Well, hopefully we survive this re-entry. I think we're actually going to skip out of the atmosphere. Yeah, we are. We're going to skip out. That's probably a good thing. Okay. Let's go ahead and orient this. Wait, do we not... We don't have a reaction wheel. This is going to get awkward. Well, that was my own fault, for sure. We'll warp it around. Luckily, this thing has a built-in heat shield. What's our apoapsis at currently? Quite high. Our surface speed could be worse. We're just going to have to rely on atmospheric forces, though. Okay. It is what it is. I messed up with the time warp, but I just assumed that it would drop us out of the time warp before we entered the atmosphere. I guess I shouldn't have assumed that. But okay. We are slowing it on down. We are going to burn off the heat shield a little bit. Aerodynamic forces should keep us retrograde relatively. We are definitely seeing some heating effects here. I'm a bit concerned about our overheat. We are slowing down very quickly, though. Which I do like to see. Our heat shield is holding for now. I think we're okay. Through some miracle, I think we're fine. I completely messed up this re-entry. I had the right plan, but I warped too far. And that does mean that we end up losing a couple of experiments that we had stored in the Science Junior and Mystery Goo. But most of our experiments were stored in the re-entry module or the experiment storage unit. So we're going to get the vast, vast majority of the science by a kind of ridiculous margin. SAS can be off. There's no real point. We're going to be able to do drogue shoots quite soon. And I mean, all things considered, this re-entry could have gone a lot worse. Considering I messed it up as badly as I did. Yeah, it's largely fine. Out go the drogue shoots. We're going to be landing in the desert, and we might even get ourselves some fancy science from that. Main chutes deploying. And let's physics warp. That worked out better than it had any right to. Me messing up that badly at that point in the mission was... It should have been catastrophic. Luckily, physics were doing their thing. And we are just going to physics warp down to the ground as quickly as we can, which isn't amazingly quickly. But yeah, that re-entry could have been handled a lot better. And I'll be the first to admit that. But it worked out to a shocking degree. It's almost like it was planned. It wasn't. It was definitely unplanned. That was a rapid, unscheduled disassembly of the rest of the craft. Okay, here we come. And we have touchdown. We'll have Bob hop out and grab an extra 9 science from the surface sample. There we go. And this should be just a ludicrous amount of science. Oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, that's officially a ludicrous amount of science. We've returned home from the surface of Gilly, flyby, orbit, flyby of Eve, orbit of Eve, flyby of the sun, first scientific data from Gilly. And we got science data from surface of Gilly, which I actually picked up after we gathered that data. Science data from surface of Minmus, we're going to do that in just a moment. We have a lot of science to spend. Like, this out here costs 1,000, right? We're not going to spend all of the science, but we can grab the surface ionographer as well as the negative gravioli detector, and that's basically our last science bits, which is fantastic. The Propidopadine Octo 2 would be a good upgrade for our comsats, as well as the RA100 relay antenna. That's going to be quite important for us. And let's see, as far as things up here go, I don't think we need vectors, realistically. Nuclear propulsion might come in handy later, but I don't think we need it immediately. Large reaction wheels might be good. And the cupola module, of course, if we're going to build the gateway. The mobile processing lab will be important for that as well. Some rover science, I don't think that's super important. Ion propulsion maybe, though. I do like my ion propulsion. And just like that, we are through a huge chunk of the tech tree. Excellent. So what are we doing next? Well, satellite in a specific orbit of the sun. That's something I was thinking about doing anyway. We'll grab that. And let's take a look at what that orbit is. Interesting. That's a very interesting orbit. I'm not sure that that's going to be the final orbit for the mission, but we'll hit this orbit for sure. That inclination is pretty equatorial. Okay. Well, we do need to upgrade our Ravens. So let's open up the... Do we need anything in specific on that? Resource survey scanner and a thermometer. That's fine. And we're going to save this as the Raven 1S. This is a sizable Raven upgrade here. First things first, we're going to replace this stage that is right here. Our satellite's maneuvering. And we are going to replace that instead with ion propulsion. A xenon container and an electric propulsion system. It's kind of silly looking, but it'll get the job done. I'm going to also change out these for Gigantors. They might be overkill, but I like to have Gigantors on anything using ion engines, just to be on the safe side. We also may want to have one additional... Actually, we can get rid of that. We may also want to have one additional battery on here. And I will put on a Z200. There we go. We'll get rid of this guy and upgrade that to an RA100. Which is, of course, way, way larger. So we're going to have to redo this fairing. And we're just going to bring this out. Technically, we're going to have to move the fairing down. Or this up. The Gigantors are kind of in the way. What we could do is we could do something really dumb. And put ourselves a second xenon tank here. And move these up like this. This is so much overkill to get anywhere. Like, this stage right here, if we go into vacuum, look at that. 20,000 delta V. Now it's going to take forever to burn. But that's okay. Because these are communication satellites. We technically... Ooh, this fairing doesn't quite get wide enough. Okay. This is a 1.25 meter fairing. We're going to need a slightly larger fairing on this. And it's got to be the 1.875 meter fairing. It's going to look kind of dippy, but that's okay. So we'll just do something like that. And close it up like that. Okay, we are going to need a thermometer on this thing. And then it also wanted us to put a resource survey scanner on it. Which is something that we might want to do just kind of generally anyway. The resource survey scanner, if I recall correctly... Does this count? This surface scanning module? We'll find out in a moment. Okay. Something like that. 1.97, 1.54. This is still plenty to get it into orbit, and then once it's there, the ion propulsion can get it literally anywhere. It does not matter. Thrust to weight on this is, of course, abysmal, but that's fine. I do want to check sea level on this. Yeah, that's perfect. This is currently a swivel and a pair of reliance. Let's check our center of mass compared to our aerodynamics. Our aerodynamics are a little dodgy, honestly. I wouldn't mind something kind of like this. It looks a little dumb, but it gets our aerodynamics about where I wanted them to be. So something kind of like this. And this is kind of our final variant of this particular module. Now, of course, I do want to remove all of this, and we're removing the Protodobodyne Octo because we want to upgrade this guy to a Protodobodyne Octo 2 or a remote guidance unit. And the remote guidance unit is definitely the one that we want to go for. And actually, looking at this, we can upgrade these batteries to a 1K. We'll do 2 1Ks. Just like that. Okay. That should do the trick. So I'm just double checking staging here. Excellent. So this is the Raven 1S. I'm going to put it on the pad here. I'm not sure that we're going to launch it immediately. Maybe we will. But I just want to put it on the pad to check to see that that counts as a resource survey scanner. So let's see here. It does not. We don't have a thermometer on here? Okay. We'll revert that back to vehicle assembly. And I guess I did take the thermometer off because I was changing its mirroring. So the thermometer goes there. This does not count as a resource survey scanner. I guess this wood is huge. Is that a physics-less part? I don't know. It looks ridiculous. I'm gonna delete the fairing and we'll see if we can build another one. It is physics-less. Okay, this is gonna look ridiculous. But this is a physics-less part. If the fairing can go straight through it like that, fairing might have to be a little bigger. Okay. So this looks ridiculous, but in theory, that works. Can I make this fairing thinner? I really want to. Like, I really want this fairing to go out kind of like... It has to be at its widest width in order to do this. That's just too tall. So it should start coming in like that. It definitely looks ridiculous. There's no doubt about that. Let's give it a test launch and see what this thing does. This is going to be silly. But hey, we have remote guidance units, which means that we can do all sorts of fancy SAS things, which is very nice. We haven't been able to do that in a while. So we don't want this fairing to deploy here. I'm going to manually deploy the fairing. And off we go. Let's do a quick test launch and see if we can get this guy into orbit. If it gets into orbit, it can get anywhere. Like, look at this meter per second shoot up. It's insanity. Okay, our apoapsis is looking decent. I'm going to start heading over equatorial. I want to keep our angle of ascent a little bit shallow. Because I'm not convinced by this being so top-heavy. Yeah, having to fight that. Yikes. Yikes. Okay. I guess we're going vertical. I guess we're going this way now. Okay, I went too steep. We'll just have to hold here as best we can. Okay, let's get those out of here. We did not get enough vertical speed there because I was going too aggressive. Okay. This is going to be interesting. This is a test flight, after all. We have learned things. There's no doubt about that. For one thing, we've learned that we don't have a lot of vertical speed, and we also, once we start getting over here, have some major aerodynamic issues with this. It's not a huge surprise that that's the case, to be completely honest. But right now, I'm just going for pure vertical speed. Well, we have a tiny amount of horizontal coming in, but almost pure vertical. So I'm just trying to get out of the atmosphere right now. Our inclination is definitely going to be wacky from that tumble. But that was caused by an over-aggressive gravity turn, which at this point, I'm feeling comfortable going horizontal. And I want to try to fix our inclination here. Half a degree of inclination is something that can be fixed. Okay, we'll just sit here for the moment and work on developing some speed. We'll also ditch that fairing. Okay. So yeah, we definitely need speed. Our reaction control system on this isn't great. Okay. This was always a test flight, though, and essentially a simulated one. So I feel perfectly comfortable reverting that. I wasn't planning on taking this anywhere. I just wanted to identify issues with it, and issues we did identify. First thing that I want to correct is I want to put in an SAS module over here. There we go. Second thing that I want to change is, I think I want additional fuel in the center core? I don't know. I'll think about that. It is time to put a cut in here. I think ultimately the tumble cost us more than anything, so I think fixing the ascent profile will fix that. But I'm going to put that cut in here, and next episode we're going to launch this thing into its proper orbit around the sun. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and I will see you all next time.